What sets us apart from other stretching facilities is we have a myofascial release component, okay? Whereas if you want to stretch your body, you just can't try to lengthen your muscle because we have a fascia that surrounds our muscles. And because of repetitive movements and positions and, post and present injuries, we have a lot of scar tissue on our fascia that thickens and it gets dense and it limits our movements. And not only limits our movements, it subluxating our joints. That just means that it takes our joints out of its anatomical position because they're pulling in multiple directions. So what makes us different from other stretching facilities is that we reduce the scarring and the dense fascia that surrounds the muscle, and that will permit the muscle to actually lengthen and stretch. Whereas there's no other stretching facility that comes close to even providing something effective in that fashion. Other stretching facilities just have the static stretch fashion or model of stretching, where that's just trying to separate your muscle. Where it's counterproductive because, like I mentioned earlier, the fascia is dense and is thick and it's on top of the muscle, and it's just trying to pull it apart. It's like if you get a cut on your arm, right? And then the cut produces a scab. That's scar tissue from your body defending itself. So if you take your finger and separate that scab, if you stretch the scab out, it's just gonna break because of the density, and it's gonna bleed, and it's just gonna have to create more scar tissue to heal itself again. So it's pretty counterproductive to stretch your body without a myofascial release component that's going to reduce that scarring that will allow your muscle to actually stretch. And that's what sets us apart from other stretching facilities, as well as we administer proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation, as well as vibration therapy. The vibration therapy, it plays a huge role in a neurological component to allowing your body to lengthen and prevent it from going in the same direction that we're always going in. It's like if you do 1,000 curls, 1,000 bicep curls with a dumbbell, when you stop, your arm wants to be in this position. It wants to be in this angle because we've created this pattern of our muscle, A, shortening and bringing our joint to this position, and B, neurologically, our brain telling the muscle to go in this position. So we've created a pattern on going in this position in two directions, neurologically and physically. So what we have to do is retrain it and take it back into the other direction. And that's when the proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation comes in. It helps our brains allow our bodies to come out of the positions that we always go into, and reconstructs and aligns our posture and our pelvis pretty much back into the right position. The main goal and what we do at Extensions is we fix anterior pelvic tilt. If you're unfamiliar with anterior pelvic tilt, is when your pelvis, it tilts forward and it manipulates the integrity of your spine. Your pelvis is the shelf for your spine. So if your pelvis is in the wrong position, your spine has to be manipulated, like I said, in order to create an upright position, because we're Homo sapiens. We don't have to think consciously to be upright unless there's something physically preventing us from being upright. So I say that to say, when you have anterior pelvic tilt, it puts a strain on your spine, and that in turn puts compression on your spinal cord, which is bringing all the messages and information from your brain to the rest of your body. And once you have pressure on your spinal cord, the information coming from your brain to the rest of your body becomes limited. And that's when we begin to age. Things start becoming detached from its life source. It's like having an orange on a tree. When the orange is on a tree, it's fruitful, it's lively, it's vital. However, the moment it falls and detaches from the life source, it begins to die off because there isn't any more vitality going to it. So, and that's what happens with our bodies when we have this fascia that's dense and it has this scarring on different areas from doing these positions over and over and over, like sitting. We come from a culture of sitting, over and over we're doing these positions. It creates a tourniquet effect on our bodies. And no matter, it doesn't matter what kind of nutrients we take in or what kind of, health and wellness, water and all this good food and whatever it is, it doesn't matter what you take in that's advocated to be healthy for the human body. It's not going to work because it cannot be evenly distributed throughout our body, because we have this dense scarring. So parts of our body become detached from the life source and then it dies off. We just call it aging because that's what happened to everyone before us. So we begin to believe that it's inevitability that that's going to happen to us. So, and then society is not advocating at the same time on how to be well. So I've created this system here, first from my own experience, from having so many injuries, from playing hard sports and exercising and lifting heavy weights and motorcycles and other, trauma that I've experienced personally, as well as my, my school information. I've understood what makes us old and not our birth certificate, and I reverse engineered it and tried to consolidate it into packages of 30, 60, and 90-minute sessions, and what makes us old is having anterior pelvic tilt. If I had more time, I can explain the entire process. However, anterior pelvic tilt is what makes us old people, other than, the common eating poorly and other things that's associated with it. But the actual aging process is coming from our anterior pelvic tilt because it's putting a kink in our spinal cord. It's like drinking from a straw. I like to give an analogy so you can get, a clear picture of what's happening. It's like drinking from a straw. If you drink from the straw and then you put a kink in it, if you put the kink in the straw, the energy going through the straw is going to be limited. However, you have to use more effort in order to get the energy through. So you have to suck on the straw a lot harder in order for you to get a little bit of energy. And when your posture is poor and you have this kink in your spinal cord, because of your posture, your brain has to work much harder to send a little bit of energy throughout the rest of your body. Your heart, liver, lungs, the things that we're not conscious of, all your smooth muscles, as well as your skeletal muscles. The muscles that we're not conscious of has to have a full reservoir of information, going to it, because we can't think, okay, beat, heart, liver function. We're not conscious of them. They have to work automatically. So we have to provide a system for them to work automatically proficiently. So when you have poor posture, the energy coming from your brain is like an IV drip of information as opposed to a reservoir of information. And then things start becoming detached from the life source. And we call it aging. So I've come up with a system and a program, and a program design that allows your spinal cord to have full energy coming from your brain and not have these kinks in it that's, making us older people and detaching our bodies from its life source, AKA the fountain of youth. That's what extensions is here.